I've been away from writing for a while. Last weekend, I was at an author's market. Plus, I've actually been kind of sick lately. But today is Saturday, and Saturday is writing day. Once again, I'm looking at the major story structure elements of the outline. So I've got a pretty good handle on the first half of the book. I'm actually really happy with what I've come up with. I've got all the character arc stuff with the truth and the lie and all that. I've got my first plot point, a hook, and I'm pretty happy now with my midpoint. I've just been doing a bit of work on that. Now comes the second half of the book, and this second half has always been a lot more nebulous in my mind. I've known the kind of things that I want to do, but I haven't got any specifics in my head. Like the first half of the book, I had whole scenes in my head. But what comes next is going to be harder. Now, what a discovery writer or a pantser would do at this point is say, all right, I've got enough. I need to start writing this story. Right at the beginning, up to the midpoint, see where it takes me, and I'll figure out what's happening in the second half by then. That is not me. That is not how I work. That's not how I like to work. And I don't think that's how I work best. But I'm wondering, because I think we can all take lessons from the way other people do things, even if it's not the way we do it. Could I kind of take a page out of that idea and start doing, not writing the book, but to actually start doing the detailed outline of the first half while I continue to mull over the broad outlining of the second half? I mean, I already have ideas. I mean, I know how the book ends. I know kind of where the climax is kind of going. But there's just a lot of specifics and blanks that need to be filled in. And I think that would be a perfectly valid thing to do at this point. I actually kind of coined this term, what I call just-in-time outlining, which I've done in the past where I'm kind of short on time and it's like, oh, NaNoWriMo is starting. Oh, I should do a project. Oh, but I haven't outlined anything. All right, let me just quickly start outlining. And as long as the outline stays ahead of the manuscript, then I'll be okay. And yeah, that kind of worked. But this is not a rush job. This is going to be my first published novel-length work, as opposed to novellas. And I really want to follow a specific process. I want to write this book the way that I've always wanted to write every book. I want to really dig into my strengths and what I think is the best process for me. But what I'm talking about here could be a form of just-in-time outlining. I don't think there's anything that would prevent me from starting to do a more detailed scene-by-scene outline for the first half of the book while I continue to mull over the second half. And I may actually do that. I do, however, still have some character work, some character arc stuff on some of the other characters. I've very well defined the character arc for Johan, but his wife Sophia needs a character arc, and possibly each of the three kids as well. And then there's also some work to do on the villain. So I've still got things that I can do while I mull over this second half. But I do actually need to do the mulling. That's the thing. I can't just sit back and wait for ideas to come to me. I've got to drag them out of wherever they come from. I think right now I've actually got to go to the supermarket and get some groceries. So that's probably a good time to walk around the shop and think about my story. It's actually kind of hard to think about your story at the same time as you're trying to think about what you're buying and putting in your trolley. But that's it. I did get some thoughts together, and I'm starting to get a better handle, particularly on the external conflict of what's going on in this, particularly the last quarter of the book, because that's really what it's all about. Okay, so I've got some stuff together. So first of all, there's going to be the second pinch point in the second half of the second act. Now I know that is going to be Darius, our human antagonist. He is going to push back in some way. What I'm not sure yet is exactly how that is going to be told, because at that point in the story, our characters all think that he's a good bloke. They don't know very little of him, but Jenny is going to mention him to them as this guy who's been helping them survive. Possibly the only way to do a Darius pinch point is to give Darius a point of view. But if I give Darius a point of view, it needs to be introduced early in the book. You can't just suddenly come up with a new point of view character 3/4 of the way through a novel. But again, that could be okay. I am going to be using some flashbacks in the first act of this book. And I've recently come across some really interesting teaching about how to do flashbacks effectively, so I'm pretty excited about that. But there's going to be some flashbacks, mostly from the Frey family's point of view. But perhaps I should actually have some Darius flashbacks at that point. I don't know, because he's doing stuff back there that's setting everything in motion. Do I keep all of that a big surprise to the end? Hey, he did all this stuff. But if I do that, then it's going to be very telling. It's going to be him saying, oh, I did this, and I did this, and I did this. Whereas if I use flashbacks in the first act, I'll be revealing some of this stuff earlier in the story, but I can show it rather than have him tell it. So, I don't know. There's still some decisions to be made there, obviously. Now, when it comes to the third plot point, there's multiple components to that, and I've got some of it worked out. The false victory, how they think they've really achieved the goal of the book, or at least the new goal that they get in the midpoints, which will lead to the goal that Johan has for the entire book. And it's not going to go so well. There's going to be a bit of a twist there, actually, a bit of a surprise. Yeah, this is not as good as you think it is. And that's basically going to be the reveal of Darius as a villain. So the disaster, I already have in mind exactly what that's going to be. There's going to be a nice little, a traditional villain monologuing kind of scene when they're all in private, and Darius is going to, make it clear exactly what he's done. And if I didn't have those Darius flashbacks, this is the scene where I have to reveal everything. Which would make this a very challenging scene to write without making it really bad. So, yeah. I still need to really finalize the aha moment and how I'm going to do the climax, because those two, they're really tied in with the internal conflict. There needs to really be there needs to be a choice, basically, where he needs to either do what he wants, what he's been trying to do the entire book, or reject the lie and accept the truth. So, yeah, but that has to tie into the actual kind of climax of the external conflict. These things, they've all got to be intrinsically connected. And that's the part that I've always found difficult in the past, and that's why I'm really wanting to front load this stuff to make sure I get it right, and that the character arc is not just some add-on that I try to plug into my plot later. Anyway, I'm pretty happy with that bit of progress I've made today. Hopefully I'll have some time to do some more work on my writing tomorrow. But now it's time to cook some of that food that I got at the supermarket. Well, it's Sunday, and I've been doing some more thinking, and I'm a lot closer to figuring out this whole third plot point, specifically the disaster and the aha moment, and how all the internal conflict with Johann's character arc ties in with the external conflict. I'm getting pretty excited about it all, and I think I may be an absolutely terrible person for some of the things that I'm planning to put my characters through, but that's just called being a writer. Now, in order to progress this further at this point, I think I actually need to go into a whole new thing that I've never talked about, and that is world building. I haven't actually done any world building on this. I haven't certainly talked about it yet in these writing vlogs. But I have an entire planet that I need to create and decide what's this planet like? How does it differ from Earth? What kind of creatures live here? What about plants? Climate? Are there moons? How many suns are there in this system? How many other planets? Like, there's a lot of fun stuff to figure out, and this is where it really kind of becomes sci-fi. But in order to really understand the kind of hardships that the other survivors from the spaceship are going through, and Darius' rise to power and all of that, in order to get my head around that stuff, I really need to start building this planet. And so that's what I'm going to be doing next time. So the next writing vlog will be all about world building. Hope you'll enjoy that one. I'm pretty pleased with what I've achieved this weekend. It's good. Catch you next time.